Garret, I am so excited to see you. I think everyone knows I am a huge fan of electrical stimulation of muscles, that was a big part of my recovery. And then I had stopped doing e-stim for a while on the basis of some recommendations from my medical team. And I started having a lot more trouble with back pain. And so I was thrilled when we met. You got me back doing my e-stim and having that be a very vigorous part of my daily workout and rehab program. So I'm thrilled to partner with you and thrilled to have discovered you. Garret, can you tell my tribe a little bit about who you are and what your company, the Neufit company?
Absolutely, yes. And first of all, thank you so much for having me on here. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to work with you, and I'm very excited to be able to present as part of the seminar, the now virtual seminar. And it's just been a real honor because I think that the work that we're doing complements so well the work that you're doing. And I look at it from the perspective of when when you're helping someone who has MS or other autoimmune or degenerative diseases, when you're helping them stop the progression of that disease, that's amazing. That is such a gift. That's so beautiful and wonderful and valuable. And then we also have to talk about what we can do to help once the progression has stopped, what we can do to help regain and restore function that had been lost because of the disease. And so that's where we come in. It's an addendum, albeit I think a valuable one, and it's an addendum to what you're doing. And so I think the synergy is awesome. And thank you for the wonderful work. I've gotten to read the second revised version of the Wahls protocol. Got to read some of that, and I love it. So in terms of what we're doing, Neufit stands for neurological fitness, and we work a lot with the nervous system because the nervous system is this common thread throughout all of these processes. Early stage rehabilitation for people who are recovering from orthopedic injuries or chronic pain, or trying to restore function after having lost function because of something like MS. That early stage rehab, all the way through methodically and safely and step by step ramping up the level of challenge to return to activities of daily living, or return to the athletic field, or whatever someone's goals are, all the way through building a sustainable long-term fitness program, or working towards elite performance, whether that's physically, cognitively, or whatever aspect of life. That nervous system is the common thread throughout. And we believe that working with the nervous system is the most powerful way, the most transformative way to help people recover from pain and injury and set themselves up for success in long-term fitness and health and wellness. And so everything that we do, we have this neurological lens. And of course, I don't think we have to convince people in your community here that the nervous system is important when you're talking about a neurodegenerative disease like MS. And so, it happens to be an area of application where this work can be very powerful. And so, our work is based on functional neurology, based on leveraging and applying the new findings from neuroscience in the last decade or two, and combining that with direct current technology, which also allows us to leverage and take advantage of the new technology that's come about in electronics. A couple decades ago, we couldn't get high enough therapeutic levels of direct current into the body without burning the skin. And so now there's new components and ability to generate signals and things like that allow us to do this. So it's the combination of, go ahead.
And direct current is more physiologic than alternating current. It's a better match to what my nervous system would normally use. Is that understanding correct, Garret?
That's correct. So there's certainly, well, let me back up a second. Virtually everything that's out there in the electrical stimulation world is alternating current. And so, having a device that's direct current is different, and understanding some of the contrasts there, I think is important. Where alternating current, there's some benefit in that you can cause muscles to contract, have a little bit of activity, pump, or get some lymph moving, blood flow, things like that. However, when you turn it up to a high enough level to really make a difference, you run into some challenges.
Hmm.
where, as that signal, alternating means that signal volleys back and forth like this, as opposed to direct only goes in one direction. And so as that signal volleys back and forth, you create this environment wherein the muscles of the body start to fight against each other. And so it's like if you were driving your car, hitting the throttle and the brake pedal at the same time, and you end up training the muscles to stiffen and shorten and become less efficient. Whereas when you have this direct current signal only going in one direction, it matches, as you said, it's more physiologically appropriate and relevant for the body, and it allows us to program more specifically contraction or relaxation, and to stimulate the exact sensory pathways in the nervous system, so that we can have a much more significant impact in the realm of neuromuscular reeducation, which is where we're working if we're trying to help someone restore function and take advantage of neuroplasticity in order to make long-term changes.
Okay, excellent, excellent. And you have seen some remarkable improvements in the MS community um, in other neurologic diseases using your Neufit device?
We have, yeah, particularly in the MS community, we've seen some people. Well, virtually everyone that we've worked with has made some progress. For some people, it's amazing, life changing. For some people, it's slower, and the steps, progress comes more incrementally. But virtually everyone has at least seen some progress. So it's been very exciting. We've seen some, people restore sensation in their hands and feet. We've seen some who have had drop foot be able to lift their foot again and walk without tripping or without scuffing their foot. We've seen some, and on the more dramatic end, we've seen some who had been in wheelchairs, start being able to walk again, either with a walker or with support, or even some on their own. So there's been some dramatic examples, and then there's been some where people have made a few percentage points of improvement, and yet that still helped them with their quality of life.
Correct. Now, the more advanced the disease with MS, we anticipate steady rates of decline, particularly once you get to needing a cane, walker, wheelchair. The clinical course is steady decline unless we're able to stop the inflammation, neurodegeneration. And that's one of my tenets when I teach in the Wahls protocols: use diet and lifestyle to try and stop the damage. And then the next process that I talk a lot about is the process of rebuilding. That takes time to re-educate the muscles, rebuild that nervous system. And I talk about in my book that electrical stimulation can support and speed that process. Now, it's not magic that it will fix the nervous system without effort. Can you speak to that, Garret? If I just hook everyone up to your device, can they just lay there and that will magically fix them, or do they have to do some work too?
Definitely, we have to meet in the middle. There's definitely some active participation and some work, and there's a few points here that I think are helpful in addressing this topic. In terms of, as you mentioned, oftentimes the trend is for further progression and for function to diminish and continue to get worse over time. So there's a few principles that I'll preview here, and we'll dive into more deeply in the talk that I'll give as part of your seminar series. And there's a few principles here. So there's neuro-plasticity, describes the ability of the nervous system to adapt and remodel and change and restructure and reorganize based on the activities that we're doing, based on environmental inputs. And that can be good or bad. So we're always adapting to whatever we're doing. So if we get stronger, like muscles, if we use our muscles in the gym, they can get bigger. So too, if we challenge our nervous system, can it get stronger, more robust, reorganize, build new pathways, remyelinate some pathways? There's documented evidence that the nervous system can upgrade, and that's what we want to tap into. However, it can also get worse. Adaptation works in both directions. So in the in the typical everyday world, we see, for example, example of a quote unquote negative adaptation. Think about the office worker who's hunched over at their desk for 8 hours a day. They do that day after day after day, and they get so good at that they've adapted to it, and they've actually earned the right. Yeah,
We can't. Yeah.
yeah. they've earned the right to be in that position all day long, even when they get up from their desk. So the adaptation is not, it doesn't discriminate good or bad. Adaptation is, something that happens in response to whatever it is that we're doing. And so one of the challenges that people face with neurodegenerative diseases or neurological injuries like stroke or spinal cord injury is that there's an adaptation called learned disuse, where if you can't use an area of your body or you can't use it as effectively, your body's going to adapt to not using it and take neurological resources, whether it be brain space or neurological connections that we're feeding that area, it'll actually take them away. It'll repurpose them to use at another area. And so it kind of amplifies the notion that if you don't use it, you lose it, where if you can't use it, then you're going to lose it even faster. And so there's a kind of a downside to neuroplasticity as one component of this. And then also in terms of the positives of neuroplasticity, what we need are a significant volume of work. We need to challenge whatever neurological pathways we're trying to stimulate. If one is not able to lift his or her foot because of drop foot, we need to stimulate the nerve pathways that trigger that initiate that movement. And in order to reactivate that, it takes a lot of input. It might take hundreds of thousands of repetitions of correct movement in order to stimulate the body to actually invest the resources long term to reorient new brain areas or make new pathways or lay down myelin on some of those existing pathways, whatever the adaptation is. And it's very difficult to accumulate that amount of work, that number of repetitions. And that is where, as you said, technology like this can come in to help make that process more efficient and shorten the overall process, or make it possible at all. Because if you can't do that movement, then how on earth are you going to amass hundreds of thousands of reps? You can do some visualization practice like that, but you can't actually get the number of reps that you need. And so that's where a tool like this comes in, because it allows us to send that signal in a very, very powerful way and consistent way, and do it frequently enough over time so that we can accumulate that overall volume of work.
I am so impressed with the power of electrical stimulation to change the trajectory of strengthening and rehab. And what I find exciting, Garret, is now other scientists are agreeing with me, and there's more research being published about the use of eStim, even in people who have significant disability, who have very little walking. There are now studies talking about hooking these people up to eStim and working with them to improve their function and their quality of life. Wonderful stuff. Now, I know I'm thrilled that you're going to be speaking at our seminar. Can you give us a little sneak preview of what that, excuse me, of what you'll be talking about and what topics you'll be covering?
Yes, absolutely. So neuroplasticity is definitely the theme, and we're going to talk more in depth about those pros and cons of neuroplasticity. And it's what I hope to be, and what I believe will be, a very empowering message, because we're going to lay out the scientific case for how and why the body can and will reorganize and adapt to help improve function. And we're going to lay out a path and what the prerequisites are in order to regain function that has been lost. And again, it can be a range of from here to here for different people, and we'll talk about the factors that influence that and what people can be doing, actionable items, whether it's working with us or even otherwise. We'll lay down the actionable items that people can take to increase their opportunity for neuroplasticity.
And we give some discussion about, because people have heard about the TENS unit, electrical, and there are a number of electrical therapy devices. Will you be talking about that at all in your talk? And if not, then I'll make sure that I cover that in my talk. So you and I have to make sure we each understand who's covering what in our respective talks.
Yes, I'll talk some, at least at a high level, about eStim in general, about different strategies that are being used for neuroplasticity outside of electrical stimulation and electrical stimulation, and some of those differences between TENS units and more traditional eStim, and then the approach that we've taken to bring that to the next level.
Excellent. Because another thing that I'm hearing from so many people in the public is, they've read my book, they're fired up now about eStim, they're fired up about electrical therapy, but they struggle mightily to find anyone in their community who can give them any support or guidance or insight in how to incorporate that into their current exercise program or how to access that. And that's frustrating. It's also why I'm so excited to see that you're out there training physical therapists on how to add this very helpful modality to the rehab program. So I want to give a lot of thank you to you, Garret. It's just so important that we get more physical therapists trained and excited about the using eStim as part of the rehab.
Absolutely. And I talk, now I'm blessed to be able to interact with hundreds and hundreds or thousands of physical therapists, and some have preconceived notions about eStim because they're used to the more traditional modalities, and they see that they don't have as much value and they've gone away from them. And some of them are concerned, some of them are concerned that it doesn't work. Some of them are concerned that it either interferes with or somehow is an artificial way of working with someone, as opposed to hands-on techniques or things that require more skill from them. And when we're able to communicate to them that, one, we're not taking the place of anything physically, we're actually just using this to help tap into the body's potential that it has there and trigger the body to actually do the work. And when they realize that they can use it in a way that's very complementary to their other exercise or manual techniques and therapies, they're becoming more and more receptive to it. And so we definitely want to, as you said, there's a real need, particularly in the MS community, and we definitely want to get the word out.
There's a huge need. Well, we're working on training practitioners how to use the Wahls protocol. We're trying to get more and more physical therapists fired up about eStim and how to incorporate that in their clinical practice. I'm very thrilled to support Garret as he's working to train the therapist community as well. So Garret, I'm thrilled to have discovered you. I'm thrilled to partner with you, and I'm also thrilled to support you as you train your practitioners. If there's any way that we can support that effort, of course, do reach out.
Thank you, Dr. Wahls, and we're delighted to work with you as well. Thank you.
Now, we'll put some links below this in terms of how to reach Neufit and to sort out if you have Neufit in your community. They have a wonderful device, and they have really partnered very well with the therapy community about how to incorporate eStim and physical therapy to accelerate your rehabilitation potential. Love you, Garret. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Love you too. Thank you.
That was some great information. Now, I invite you to leave comments below about what were the key things that you learned and what new actions that you're going to take to improve your health and vitality. And then I also want you to go to my website, terrywahls.com, and sign up for my newsletter so you can get the latest information and updates from me. You'll also have the chance to download the Wahls Diet Cheat Sheet, which is a one-page handout you can put up on your refrigerator to guide you as you implement the Wahls diet. In addition, I invite you to follow me on Instagram at Dr. Terry Wahls, on Facebook and Twitter at Terry Wahls, to hear my comments on the latest science and to see what I'm eating and doing, receive personal inspiration messages from me every day. Again, I am so glad that you checked out this latest interview. Please leave your comments below. What did you learn and what are you going to do? And yours in health, remember, creating health using diet and lifestyle, using the concepts I teach in the Wahls protocol, is our most effective strategy for improving our health, our vitality, and reducing the need for expensive prescription medications, reducing the probability of worsening chronic disease and poor health. And yours in health and vitality, this is Dr. Terry Wahls.